In this video, I'm going to show you how to place the window regulator and motor assembly on the front door of this Ford F-350. The procedure is the same on both sides. Let's get started. Let's start at the top of the door and remove this sail panel. Just pull on it. It's got a couple clips on the back side. Set it aside. Let's remove the mirror switch right at the top of the door panel. Use a plastic trim tool so you don't damage the door panel, and just pry it up from whichever side it wants to come up from, whether it's the front or the back. There we go. Once you have it up and out, you're going to want to unplug it. The lock on this connector is going to be on the front, and then this one right here on the back. There we go. Set this wiring harness aside, and the switch, of course. A little bit further down, let's remove the window switch. Same plastic trim tool. Pry up on it. Unplug the two connectors. And set the switch aside. A little bit further down, you'll have these two bolts that are usually covered with a cap that you can easily pry off with a plastic trim tool or a screwdriver, whatever you have. And usually there are two 8mm headed bolts in here. Mine are a little bit different. Someone's already been here, so I'm just going to remove what I have, but remove your two 8mm bolts. At the bottom of the door, there are supposed to be two more. One over here, one over here. Mine are missing, so there's nothing for me to take out, but take yours out. These are also 8mm, just like the ones on the top. At this point, just lift up the door panel and pull it away. At this point, there should be a vapor barrier in here, just a large piece of plastic that you should be able to peel off. It's usually glued to the door. Ours is missing, but for you, you would just gently peel it away so you can access all of this. Now turn your ignition into the on position and plug in the window switch again, because we'll need to move the window up or down depending on where you have it already, so we can unbolt it from the regulator. For me, it's up right now, so I have to lower it to right about here. What you want is the window, or the bottom of the window regulator, to be accessible through this opening, but also there's a bolt that or a nut that we have to remove right through here. So if you line it up, you'll see that mounting nut. At this point, it is lined up. I'm going to remove the window switch again, shut the ignition off so I don't drain my battery. This window regulator is now in the position that we need for it to be worked on. The easier of the two bolts or mounting nuts to reach is going to be this one on the left side as you're looking at it. 10mm socket, remove it. The other one you're going to access right through this opening right here, also a 10mm. Try not to drop it in the door. At this point, the window is unbolted from the regulator. Now, to remove the glass off of the regulator, you want to be careful because you don't want it to slide down, but you want to support it and then pull the regulator off of it. You can slide it towards the right a little bit, and that will allow the glass to be pushed off of the regulator. If you want to do this one side at a time. There we go, that's one. Get the other side out. And at this point, it is useful if you have an assistant or some tape or something to, when you lift the glass, to tape it up to the door. Push it up into the door, and then I have painter's tape. I like to use this just because it doesn't leave sticky residue behind. And the thicker the tape, the better. Unfortunately, all I have is this 1-inch wide tape, but if you have wider tape, that is a lot better because you can use less of it. And just put a bunch of strips around that'll hold the window up for you while you work. There we go. Now let's remove the regulator from the door. It's got two 10mm headed mounting nuts and 4 bolts on this side. Let's start with these. You don't have to remove them completely, any of these really, because they all have openings that they slide through. I just prefer to remove them all and have them ready to go for the new regulator. On this last one, support the regulator because it will want to swing. Also keep in mind it's still plugged in. At this point, with that one almost fully removed, you can lift it up, remove it the rest of the way, take this out, push it down. Now, the connector is going to be accessible right through this smaller opening here. So what you want to do is find the tab, it's supposed to be right on top here, press it, unplug it. Now this is completely free to go. Slide it out through this larger opening. And there it is, regulator and motor. Grab the window regulator and carefully slide it back in. Let's plug it in while it's right over here, accessible. Our new window regulator has a slight extension on the harness, which actually works out in our favor because it's going to be easier to plug in. Make sure that connector clicks. Lift this up and try to get it to line up with one of these 4 bolts. Just like so. Start at least one of them on. That'll hook it in, and you can support it, hold it in position, and line it up. And then you can start the other 3 bolts in. Once these are in, let's just tighten these up. These don't need to be very tight if you're doing this by hand, about 1/8 of a turn at most after they bottom out. On this side, let's slide in this track, push it in, install the 2 10mm mounting nuts to secure this. Snug these up. Same thing if you're doing this by hand, about 1/8 of a turn at most. Put the key in the on position again, plug in your window switch, and let's lower the regulator back to its position that it needs to be in so we can actually work on it. Oops, too low. Right there, perfect. Let's unplug it, shut the key off, and let's lower our window. Carefully take all this tape off, support it as you do, and then we'll lower it gently onto the regulator. If you just hold pressure on it this way, it shouldn't slide. Now that it's up against the regulator, push this track all the way to the right, and 1 bolt at a time, lift it so it can go right into its position. Oh, looks like both of them actually fell into place, so that's perfect. And then push it all the way to the left to lock it in fully. And then we'll put the 2 mounting nuts back on. Careful with this one over here because it's easy to lose it in the door since you don't have very much access to it. And that is threaded on, perfect. And the other one, thread that on as well. I'm going to snug these up. And then by hand, I'm going to tighten these down. I'll take a ratchet and a socket, and I like to feel these out so that they're not over tightened. Once again, about 1/8 of a turn after they bottom out, but I also don't want to put too many impacts through this window. There we go, that's one. And the second one. Those are nice and tight. At this point, this is the time to test things out if you wanted to. So turn the ignition to the on position, plug in your window switch, and roll the window up and down to make sure everything works. It goes up smoothly, and it goes down really fast and smooth. So there we go. Window regulator is replaced. Let's put things back together. This is the point where you would put your vapor barrier back. Just try to stick it the best you can. You can use some tape to hold it onto the door. Once again, ours is missing, so there's nothing for me to put back here. Now let's get the door panel back on. Make sure your wiring harness doesn't get caught behind the door panel as you install it. What you want to do for this, you're going to have to lift it and push it in, making sure that all those hooks actually go in. Tap it down, feel around to make sure that it's actually locked in. There we go. If you had your 2 lower screws, go ahead and put them on now. Mine are missing, so I'm going to move on. And then the ones up top here, get those snugged up. If you had your cover, reinstall it right now. Reinstall the window switch, plug it in, and the lock switch. Drop it down. There we go. Up top here we have the mirror switch. Plug this in and drop this down as well. And of course this little panel at the top. And there we go, the door's back together.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.